the Agency of the Year Award, we honor the superior cooperation, quality of services, and community efforts of a local public or private nonprofit agency. Selection is based on a demonstrated history of cooperation, communication, assistance, quality services, and overall concern for the community as a whole. Here to introduce this year's winner is the Executive Director of Catholic Charities, Peter Vogel. This year's winner is the Agency of the Year's Washoe County Social Services, and the award will be accepted by Kevin Schiller, its director.
Good morning, thank you. Actually, I'm really pleased to be up here. We all know Reno, and there are some fabulous agencies in this town, and there's a lot of fantastic things going on. And we thought about it a little bit and pondered, and I thought, Washoe County is really a special little group. They're doing a lot of amazing things. We hear the word collaboration all the time, right? And collaboration is sort of an easy catchword to throw out quite a bit. It's harder to do, and Washoe County is doing a lot of that. The other thing that they're doing that they don't get a lot of recognition for is they're an extremely modest group of folks. They're doing a lot of amazing things. And I'll bet you there's a lot of things that they're doing that very few people in this room know about. So as opposed to go into a whole litany of lists of things that they're doing, I kind of decided to spend my few minutes that I have just giving you one simple example of what they've done and how they made a difference. This goes back like 3 years now. But about 3 years ago, maybe a little more than 3 years ago, they sat down and looked at where the big challenges in the community were. And we've all heard $1 Million Murray, right? And hopefully there aren't people that are that expensive to our community, but there are a lot of people that have that same situation that are really expensive to our community. And they realized pretty quickly that we were not doing a service for them. And they were really causing a drain on our economy, and they had really awful lives. They were living terrible lives. So they decided they wanted to do something about it. They didn't quite know exactly what they wanted to do, but they do believe in collaboration a lot. So the first thing they did is they kind of got some ideas and put some thoughts together as to maybe what they could do. And they pulled in all kinds of potential different partners, but a whole bunch of us in the room. And I remember that meeting really well. To be really fair, it was a bit contentious. There were a lot of folks in that room that actually thought, this is a really bad idea, don't do it. And I kind of walked out of there thinking, well, this is kind of interesting. Well, maybe a majority of the room was supportive of it, but there were a lot of people that were pretty vocal that said, don't do this will be a disaster. So Kevin and Ken and his team, I think, went back and pondered a little bit and said, yeah, it's going to be a risk, it's going to be a challenge, but this is a really huge untapped need. It is not okay to keep doing what we're doing, which is not near enough. So they set up another meeting, and the next meeting happened to be all those folks in it that thought it was a good idea, which I think is probably a pretty good strategy. And so we started working together and put a plan together, and it manifested into a program called Crossroads. And again, I bet you there are a lot of people in this room that aren't familiar with Crossroads. So they started with that population that gets defined as serial inebriates, right? That's sort of the street drunks, the people who have been out there on the streets drunk for 20 years, the kind that, you and I would see them walking down Virginia Street and choose to go to the other side of the street. This has been an amazing program. Lots of partners. WestCare has a critical role. GT&N has a critical role. There's AA classes in here every day. There's NA classes in there. There's volunteers from the community coming in and doing training. This is really pretty cool. But it started with, I think 5 people, something like that. And so it started 5 people in a couple of our rooms that we had, and it's manifested really quickly into 60-some people, 60-some beds. That we've coming up on our 3rd year anniversary of this, and it has had 2 major outcomes. The first, I think, is less significant, but we have documented evidence just in RIMSA, because right, these people are getting picked up by RIMSA all the time, right? They were from RIMSA pickups, from emergency room visits, and from jails. We have been able to document the decrease of the people that we have in the program to save this community $4 million a year. And honestly, that's a conservative number. That's pretty significant, right? But I think the more important thing are the lives of these people that are just dramatically different. These are the people you sit down with now. I love chatting with them. I couldn't tell you how many people we have that are volunteering in our agency. I think at any given day, probably about 20 of them. We've hired a bunch of them. They come in, they sober up, they're really cool people. I sat down and chatted with one of the gentlemen the other day, and he was sitting there with tears in his eyes going, my 2 sons that I hadn't really had much of a relationship with just told me the other day they're proud of me. I've never heard that before. Powerful stuff. Lives are changing. And this would absolutely never have happened if it wasn't for the vision and the wisdom of Kevin and his team. And seriously, I could go on and tell you multiple stories, but they're an amazing group of folks. They are fun to work with, they're creative, they're exciting, and they really are sort of the epitome, in my opinion, of what collaboration really needs to look like in our community. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Good morning. I actually think from an agency perspective, I get the best award because agencies don't live on islands, and I think that's the message I would deliver. As I sit here and I look out, and I'll tell a little story, I'm trying not going to talk too long, but when I interviewed for Washington County Social Services, I didn't get a job. So I was really worried when I got out of college that I wasn't going to be able to do much. And I will tell you, as I walked into the room today and I looked around, people are coming up to me and talking to me. And I remember the first time I went into the legislative building back in 1992, I think, and thought, I'm not going to be here. Why am I interested in this? And as I walked in today and I'm looking at all the people that I'm interacting with, so I listened to John Sasser talk about Ms. Pierce, when I talked about Bernie Anderson, when I heard Sheila Leslie talk, when I talked about the agency not being on an island, the reality of this award is it goes to everybody in this room. It goes to, from a legislative perspective, all the way down to an agency perspective. At a county level, the thing I would really highlight is we didn't get where we were and weren't able to take those risks without the support of, and it's very interesting, whether it's the health department, whether it's the sheriff's office, whether it's purchasing, whether it's managers, whether it's the commissioners, those are all the things that have kind of led us to support us to do that, to include my two predecessors, May Shelton and Mike Capello, who built a foundation. And I think, you know, I say I'm lucky from that perspective in terms of that because that foundation has been laid so that we can move ahead. And one of the key components when we talked about crossroads and we talked about these other issues, I mean, I can honestly say, you know, when I walked in the room today, I'm already talking to people about other ideas we have. And I think the biggest piece I would emphasize, and probably the proudest piece of this I have, is that we did this in the worst recession. And I think what that allowed us to do from a budgetary perspective is people were able to open their door. Where doors were closed, doors became open because people wanted to collaborate. And I will quote Ms. Sherry Rice, who is sitting at my table, the issue of how we become successful with these things, and what all this is built on is relationships. And I'll put in my plug as we approach the next legislative session, you know, that's what this is about. It's about this room having presence. It's about moving it forward, and it's saying I can when people say you can't. So I really appreciate it. I want to actually honor HSN, and I really want to honor everybody in this room and honor all the pieces that made us an Agency of the Year, in particular, also my staff, who work really hard and they make me look really good.
What HSN does for our community is, you know, when I walked in the door this morning, I knew most of the people in the room. And that's because we work together. And so what this event does is it allows us to kind of come together. There's a lot of work that gets done on these breakfasts. It's not just an awards. It's a place where we come and we continue to work together and network. And it's very valuable for that reason.